Hi and welcome back to Excel Basics Plus. So in today's session we're actually going to have a look at the COUNTIF and COUNTIFS formulas. This is where you can count the number of cells based on certain criteria. Now similar to the SUMIF formulas up here, we were actually looking at the value and the total value based on criteria. This is actually going to be counting how many units, in particular for this laptop data, how many units we've sold. So quite a simple formula. It is literally count if this criteria is met. We start with equals COUNTIF, open bracket. And then we want to look at the criteria of COMP-005 as the stock ID. So we're going to have a look at the range of data that we want to have a look at, exactly the way the SUMIF formula works. And so we're going to highlight all of that data. And once again, hit F4, fix that data set with the dollar signs around the column and cell values. And that way, if we needed to move that formula anywhere, it would retain this range. You can see the marching ants there, the range of the stock ID. So we've selected the range, and now we want the criteria to count if the criteria is COMP-005. So let's click on COMP-005. Once again, you can actually hit F4. And I'm actually going to hit F4 again, and I'm actually going to go one more time. We're actually just going to lock the column H, and the variable will be the criteria in row 10. So we could actually drag this formula down if we needed to, and it would actually change to the next row. Now, we're doing COUNTIFs in the next one, so we're not going to, but as an example, that's what we can do. So we've put in the formula COUNTIF, open bracket, the range, comma, criteria, close bracket, and press enter. Now, unfortunately, the formatting's still on dollars. We'll change that back to general. And so we can instantly see there are 4 COMP-005 computers in the stock ID list here. It's looking for COMP-005 in the stock ID, and we can see there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we know there's 4. Now, very simple in this sort of level of data where we've only got sort of 10 or 15 items. But if you had hundreds of lines of data, this instantly can tell you how many of this particular laptop, for instance, how many units had actually been sold. So that's a good one to count across a large data set. So the second one, now we want to break this down even further. Now we can use multiple criteria. I'm only using 2 here. It's exactly the same as the SUMIFs. You can use as many criteria as you want, as long as that criteria is in your data set that you're looking up. Once again, simple formula, equals COUNTIFs with an S, open bracket. Now, slightly different to the way we do it, same way as we do SUMIFs, it's the criteria range 1 first. So the first criteria range we're looking at is the stock ID. So we'll grab the stock ID range, hit F4, make sure we put the dollar signs around the cell and the columns. Criteria 1 is COMP-005. Now it's cell H11, so we'll select H11. So that is the first part. The second part, we go comma again. The second part is now criteria range 2. Well, criteria range 2, we're looking for the state. So we'd select all of the state, hit F4 so we can retain that data there, comma, and then what's the criteria? Well, it's I11 as the cell, which is Victoria. We close the bracket. Once again, that's only 2 criteria. So if you wanted to go for a third criteria, it would be no bracket, obviously, comma, the next range of cells you want to look in, comma, the third criteria value. Now the other thing is I'm using the cell as the criteria, so H10 is comp 005, sorry, H11. You could actually hard code it and actually write in H11. Instead of H11, you could write in parentheses comp -005. What that then means though is that that formula is fixed to comp -005 as the only criteria that you're going to be looking up as in that part of the formula. This is why it's always good to use a cell, because then you can actually change the criteria if you need to. So we hit enter on our formula and we see that there's one sold in Victoria. Now we can also see it up here, $4,600 in price and $1,150 being the 1 unit in Victoria. So 4 times 1,150 is 4,600. So the numbers do marry up. Now, as I was saying, using the cell value for the criteria means that, for instance, I've actually put a drop-down list in here. I can actually now change this to comp -001, and I see there's no units in Victoria. But if we change this to comp 008 and we change the state from Victoria to Northern Territory, we now see 1. Now we'd also need to change this value as well to comp 008. We can see that there's 3 in total and 1 in Northern Territory. Another way to set this up, if you're looking for all values for comp 008 and then separately for Northern Territory, you would actually make your formula so that it is looking up the criteria 1 in, say, cell H10 for both formulas, for the COUNTIFs and the COUNTIF. That way, this formula, this cell wouldn't be used, which means you're only changing one value at any given time. And you can see there, for instance, comp 007, I've had to change both. So many different ways of doing this. It is a powerful tool. You can, as I said, you can have as many criteria as you want, as long as the criteria can be found in your data set. Keep practicing and look out for the next video.